Hospitality Meets is brought to you by RotaCloud, the simple workforce management software for hospitality teams. RotaCloud lets you create and share rotas, record attendance, and manage your team's annual leave, all in less time than it takes to make a brew. It can also make life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request holiday, and even pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be. Welcome to Hospitality Meets with me, Phil Street, where each week we take a light-hearted look into the stories and individuals that make up the wonderful world of hospitality. Today's guest is Matt McCabe, founder and CEO of Subu Connect, an online marketplace connecting global food suppliers and buyers. Coming up on today's show, Matt reveals what nearly got him deported from Germany.
I was asked to make mayonnaise.
Phil speaks to himself in the third person. Phil Street nonsense, and Phil Street knows where everything, well, he says he does, but... And Matt gives us a perler of a story.
I can't tell you exactly what he said.
All that and so much more as we chat through Matt's incredible journey so far. Matt's story is about connection, courage, and the quiet confidence that comes after you've learned the hard way, and I guarantee you there's something in here for everyone. So please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give us a like and a share wherever you can. Enjoy. And a huge Hospitality Mates welcome to Matt McCabe.
Hi Phil, great to be here. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
My total pleasure. This has been a long time in the making, to be fair. I think we had initial contact with this maybe about, 7, 8, 9 months ago, something like that.
Must be there, yeah, thereabouts. I know you're on my wall of people to meet last year, and it was March time. I think we started having early conversations, yeah.
Oh, and here we are on recording on the 15th of December, and that year got away, didn't it, really? It's quite remarkable.
It did indeed, but we're here now, so really happy for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm loving all the notes in the background. Obviously, anybody who's listening to this won't be able to see this, but you look like you're the sort of guy who decamps everything that's going on in his brain so that it's out there somewhere visually that you can come back to so that nothing gets lost.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, I've been meaning to sort of think about putting it all online, in fact, because sometimes it can be overwhelming, but I do find it helps me to visualize it on a wall and map things out.
Yeah. And
then it allows me to reflect, I guess, and move stickers around, and then ultimately you land on a path and you think, right, that's what we'll do. So yeah.
No, you're preaching to the completely converted. You can't see, but right here is a big wall full of nonsense, basically. Yeah. But it's organised Phil Street nonsense, and Phil Street knows where everything. Well, he says he does, but why am I talking about myself in the third person? Anyway, I'm right here. But yes, it's there's an awful lot. You're probably similarly brained to myself then, and there's a lot goes on in there. And sometimes you can get consumed by the stuff that's going on. It's better to just get it out rather than just sit with everything.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And in fact, we've got a small but perfectly formed team. And I just like to talk to the team about some of the challenges before I even made my mind up, about the right course of action. Because 9 times out of 10, other people's input just makes for a whole better solution, or ideas that you not even dreamed of, suddenly come to light. And I'm a real believer in talking out your challenges, or your the opportunities to make sure you're on the right path and doing the right thing.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I mean, we've kind of just got into small talk a little bit. That's 100% on me. But just tell the world what it is that you actually do.
Yeah, thank you, Phil. Well, I'm a founder of a company called Subu Connect. We're a marketplace platform for food and beverage suppliers, hence the SU supplier. And we're here to, long story about how Subu came to life, but our aim is to introduce suppliers, food and beverage suppliers, to global airline and food service buyers, hence the BU.
There we are.
Subu is an acronym for that, and the Connect is as it is. We want to bring those two sides of the equation together through a platform.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, I mean, you have literally just, your name is, that old, it does exactly what it says in the tin, basically, just in abbreviated form.
Exactly. No, no, we're very proud of being able to have launched our company and to be supporting great suppliers in the market, both here in the UK and Ireland and further afield. But yeah, it's been quite a journey this past 2 years, but really glad to have taken it on and looking forward to what 2026 brings, I guess.
Brilliant. Yeah. So it's been 2 years, has it, since inception to now?
Yeah, well, I guess a lifelong career in sort of catering before that, but started out. I guess I grew up in Dublin, but I studied hotel management, and in hotel management they teach you how to cook once a week, which is always a bit of fun. And so, as a result of that, I got an opportunity to move to Germany and work as a chef. Never worked as a chef before, but I thought I'll take this leap of faith, and that resulted in me working across Germany, Switzerland, and back to London, where I landed in the Dorchester Hotel on Park Lane. And fantastic place to work. 120 chefs in the kitchen,
God
all
almighty. Yeah.
the brigade, as they're called,
Yeah. I mean, that's an army.
an army, yes, and such a space for learning. And yeah, I really immersed myself in the kitchen there. But it was also there where I learned that chefs don't buy food. They have a procurement team or a team of buyers who support them with their food buying. And under Chef Henry Brossi, I one day put my hand up to become his food buyer, and he said yes, go for it, and not look back really.
And that's the end of your story. Thanks very much. Yeah. I have to roll it back a little bit because when amongst all of the notes that I made a note with one simple word, which was mayonnaise.
Oh, I was wondering if you'd bring up the mayonnaise, because yeah, the mayonnaise. I mean that most dinners, with friends get mayonnaise gets a mention, if only because I'm well known for sort of jumping in the deep end, and I just said when I moved to Germany was the first place I moved to start my cooking career, and I was 19. I wasn't professionally trained, and I didn't speak very good German at the time, and I started to take my cooking career seriously. And at the time, Hilton, great brand in Dusseldorf, and I sort of rocked up to the kitchen, and chef offered me a job, which was incredible. And on day one, I was in charge of the garde manger, or the salad preparation area, and I was asked to make mayonnaise. So I quickly put my thinking cap on, jumped in the fridge, checked my cookery book, as how to make this properly, because I'd never worked in a kitchen with large machines, and it'd been years since I made a mayonnaise, and I was thinking, oh God, here we go. But off I went with my trusted cookbook and a little recipe for like 5 portions of mayonnaise, and tried to rustle up 5 liters. I mean, long story short, some hours later, I think I probably made at least 5-6 times as much as was needed, to the disappointment of the sous chef at the time. So yeah, it took me quite a while to redeem myself after that. Took some months actually.
But I think these moments are like rites of passage, right? I mean, somebody has maybe blindly trusted you enough in your early incantation of yourself that he can go off and do this thing, and that's fine. With next to no instruction, next to no guidance, and so I love that kind of leadership, and kudos to them for having that level of trust. Misguided it might have been by the sounds of it, but equally, everybody has to go off and make a mistake like that in their career. And not the mayonnaise in this circumstance can be, you could replace mayonnaise for the way you write emails, for the way you speak to people, for you'll just swap out mayonnaise for any other major lesson when you're in your younger years around just doing something with your full heart, and then learning the aftermath of what comes from that.
Oh, 100%, Phil. I mean, I'd love to talk to my young self now, and I'd probably say, Matt, don't be afraid to ask for help, or ask for advice, or indeed, in this case, the recipe.
Yeah. Small detail.
Small detail. Because I think I grew up at a time, or at least my experience growing up was that you needed to know everything, or at least if you didn't know it, you got to go away and research it, because it was important that you knew what you were doing. We didn't really teach people to be vulnerable or to admit when they didn't know something, and that was a great case in point. And I look back in it now quite fondly because, like you just mentioned, it taught me an awful lot. It still took me a good 10 years to sort of figure it all out.
Yeah.
What I'd learned. I mean,
Well,
it's probably in my 40s.
one thing to learn the lesson, another thing to put the lesson into practice.
Yeah. No, I think I tried to bullishly get through that, situation and not admit defeat. But yeah, certainly growing up or now reflecting, it's been a huge lesson, and I still apply it. I mean, today I'm very open to saying I don't know something, having learned those lessons, and arguably 9 times out of 10, people are more than willing to help. In fact, even more willing, because they know you need the help, and you've opened up and shared that point.
Totally. I mean, inquisitiveness, I think, is maybe the number one trait that exists in, well, all of life. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to say it out loud. And that, you use the word vulnerability. I think that's such a wonderful way of looking at, I don't know how you teach somebody vulnerability other than giving them the space where they feel safe enough to be it. And to actually just act as vulnerable. And what somebody once said to me, that the only stupid question is the one that never gets asked, something like
Exactly.
that.
Yeah.
And it's so important that those spaces are created for people to be able to not fear recompense for failure or anything like that.
Agreed. And as I meant, in my team, we're a small team, but I do encourage my team to take accountability and responsibility, but also be brave enough to push the boundaries. And then if it comes back and it's wrong, we'll fix it, and we'll explain ourselves if need be, but don't be afraid to try, because again, I'm probably recognizing that now more as I get older and try to build a team, that I rely on my team so heavily to know what they're doing, but also to feel confident doing what they do, so that they don't feel they have to ask me every time.
Yeah.
And it's great to see how a lot of my team, in fact, all of my team, sort of take that opportunity to stretch themselves, but also I hope to shine as well. I mean, I like my team to shine and feel like they're shining and driving us forward. So that's always encouraging. And then selfishly, it makes us all look great, but it makes my day a little easier as well, because I know my team are getting on and doing the great stuff, and I can then focus on what I should be doing, and driving other areas of the business. So yeah.
Nothing wrong with a bit of positive selfishness,
Yeah.
as it were. And I think we've now cottoned on to what your book will be called. If you ever write a book, we'll call it the Mayonnaise principle. There we are. As I do on any time that an idea comes up on the show, if there's ever any revenue associated with that, I'll just take 10%. It's fine.
100. I think that's a fair deal, because that's a great title.
Anyway, right, we digress. That was never going to happen, was it? It always happens. Back to the Dorchester. You've made the transition from kitchen into food buying. Talk to me about that change, because there's a couple of things I'd love to explore here. One being, was this a case of you not knowing what you didn't know, kind of thing, that this even existed as a potential route for you as you were kind of climbing or learning the chef ranks? And then two, also just that transition itself, because it's a very different environment day to day, in terms of all action kitchen into what was probably a bit more desk related.
Yeah. God, I'm reflecting now really fondly on the whole experience, because I guess the Dorchester was the first kitchen, apart from the Hilton, where I felt a little bit shielded, from the office environment. Whereas in the Dorchester, the food bar used to visit the kitchen and talk to the chefs, and he was very visible. And he'd be talking to Henry about the quality of the beef or the vegetables they were getting, or the fresh fish. And for me, it just opened up this whole new conversation around supply chains and where our food comes from. And I was new to London and new to the UK, but the food was fantastic, and their kitchen was full of French and Italian chefs, and so we were getting products from all over the world. Rungi's market in France was often talked about, and we had the truffle. We called him the truffle guy. He was an Italian guy who brought in truffles, so he was the Italian guy, and we'd open up this bag of wonderful truffle, and just the whole experience. And I was like quite impressed, and I was thinking, wow, I mean, that's something I'd really enjoy. And so when the opportunity came, I just sort of bit the bullet again, I guess, and knocked on the chef's door and said, "Chef, I'd love to be your food buyer. What do you think?" And well, he said, I can't tell you exactly what he said, because he would have said,
I can take a guess.
Get the hell out of here, Well, he did say, go and see the director of food and beverage, in fairness. And he said, see what she says. So I went to see Zoe Jenkins, that's her name. Wonderful lady.
Goodness, yeah, the Zoe Jenkins.
The Zoe Jenkins there. I was privileged to work with her. And I knocked on her door, and she almost gave me a similar response. And then she said, well, what did Henry say? And I said, well, Henry said, come and see you. And she was like, here we go. She said, yeah, go for it. Why not? And, overnight, I mean, within a weekend, I was working in the office. I mean, it literally happened that fast.
Right.
A couple of days. And found myself wearing a shirt and tie as opposed to a chef's uniform and the neckerchief. And I guess what was interesting in for me at the time was, I had to learn how a keyboard even functioned. I mean, I could chop, but I couldn't, type very well. But I guess I brought into the office environment what we learn in the kitchen as a standard. So in the kitchen, you got to be very organized. You got to have everything sort of prepared in advance, and you got to be looking to the next week and month as to what you're doing and who you need to be talking to in order to deliver your product or deliver the dishes in the restaurant. And so in the office, I took that sort of mindset around preparing myself, organizing myself. My desk was always the cleanest in the office, because in the kitchen you're taught to clear your desk every day and every night. And so a lot of the behaviors I learned in the kitchen I brought into the office, but that extended then to my relationships with the food suppliers, because I could talk to them in a language that a chef would talk to them about.
Yeah.
And I could explain why certain products were of the specification that we required, because we handle them in a different way in the kitchen or a particular recipe. And
that's got to be a dream for them as well, though, isn't it? Because you're setting clear parameters. They understand where they fit in within that.
Yeah, honestly, the rich conversations, I would call them, in the sense that we moved on from talking about price, which is a typical procurement conversation sometimes, unfortunately, to more quality-focused conversations and the reasons and why we were setting things up the way we were. And then for myself, again, finding myself in a field, full of, whether it be potatoes or carrots, or a farm, rearing beef, thinking, I'm getting paid for this, I'm getting paid to leave the office, get on a train, visit a farm, taste amazing food, and come back and tell Chef all about it. It's just a dream job. And then, of course, for Chef, he had the comfort that there was someone out there talking to suppliers who knew exactly what he wanted, and how he wanted it. So yeah, it was really, really enriching, and for me, one of the best moves. But obviously, a career in cooking that helped lead to that path, which is so fortunate.
Yeah, and I love that. Like that, it does in many ways sound like a natural progression to, if you have a passion for food and you have a passion for the integrity of that when you're delivering a service to someone, then actually, having somebody who's in that role who comes from a food background just makes perfect sense. Like, it's, when you say it out loud, it's not, yes, it's more of an office job, but as you say, you're out in the field, kind of, actually being involved with the produce that you're potentially bringing into the organization. And it just, makes total sense. I can't even believe that I hadn't really even thought about that until we started talking about this right now. But there you are.
Yeah, and still today, I find, I mean, procurement is a whole different topic, but finding buyers who are skilled and experienced in food is quite rare. And so chefs make for perfect buyers of food, because they just understand the product that much better or differently. They
Yeah.
have a different lens on the whole um, approach of buying, I guess, and sort of those relationships that are needed to deliver great product.
Mm.
Because something that's something that is quite emotive as a topic, food and food quality. It demands a lot, and typically that demands things that are outside of a price conversation. It's about quality of service, about maintaining the quality of the product and delivering it at the right time, the right place, etc. And really taking care of that product the whole way through, right from farm through to the back door of a kitchen.
Yeah, no doubt. So how did it progress from there? You've cemented your status in the buying world, and away you go.
Yeah, I enjoyed 2 years in that role, and then I decided to educate myself in the world of procurement or buying, and so I did my Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply, as they call it, still today, and they leaned quite heavily into public sector at the time, probably still do to a large extent. So I reluctantly, I would say, left the Dorchester to move to the House of Lords. I say not because it was the House of Lords, but I reluctantly moved out of hotels into public sector. But very fortunate to work at the House of Lords, managing their food procurement, food and beverages for their kitchens, and had an amazing time for 18 months, I guess, working there again. Much very similar quality of food and expectation as the Dorchester, and then subsequently was offered a job, which for me at the time was a step up in managing food supply chains, was working at the Ministry of Justice with UK prisons. So we've got quite a large number of prisons in the UK, over 100 in fact, so 120 plus. But again, I had the opportunity there to manage their food supply chains and move from a sort of a regional based structure to a national based delivery model.
Wow, yeah. I mean, that's well. I'm going to speak for everybody here. Probably, I think we're all hoping that the food standard there was a little bit different than the Dorchester. But how does that equate into the role that you have in terms of now you've moved kind of full suite from single site, granted, a pretty magnificent single site, into multiple sites, and I guess a very different buying ethos.
Yes, I mean it was arguably 12 times the spend, 100 times the delivery points.
Yeah.
But the I guess the focus there was around, and it was an ethos I brought along in the strategy, was buy British. You know, it. So for me, it was about buying local and buying British food as much as we could. Budgets weren't extensive, as you'd imagine,
Yeah.
but quality still counted for a lot because you still needed to provide nutritious food. And then food that's locally sourced is obviously investing back into local economy, into jobs, and into our infrastructure around food service. So that was really important. And then what we couldn't produce in the UK, like a tin tomato, for example, we would import naturally. So yeah, the focus was more on Buy British. We worked very closely with DEFRA, for example, and obviously supporting British farming and milk in particular, which is in prison, milk and bread is a staple
Yeah. Well,
for a lot of prisoners and a lot of people in the prisons. So yes, I guess my focus moved from more quality to more strategic sourcing, and how we could support our budget whilst also supporting local farming and the industry itself.
yeah, I love that kind of full circle nature of that ethos around, actually, if we have a localized purchasing model, then lots of people win, like the economy wins, and everything kind of then just, rises to the top together, as it were.
Yes, no, it was fantastic. I mean, at our best, we were in excess of 70% of UK produce used in the prisons was sourced from the UK. And it was a national model delivered through a national company with a regional approach. So they would control products nationally whilst also sourcing regionally, because we're great at growing vegetables in the south and not necessarily in the north. So,
Yeah.
they would get the vegetables from the south of the UK and transport them around. So, yeah, it was a really good model, and yeah, really successful and still existing today, some 15 years later.
Brilliant. Yeah. What? How did it progress from there?
From there, well, yeah, as a family, so my wife works in hotels, and she was invited over to the Middle East to open a hotel. And as a family, we took that leap of faith and got on the plane and found ourselves in Dubai. And I myself was very fortunate to take a lead role as a global food buyer for Emirates Airlines and Emirates Flight Catering.
Blimey, that's not
Yeah.
an insignificant role either.
Oh, that was again. I mean, such a leap of faith, but such right place, right time. I mean, they were looking for a senior buyer who had, believe it or not, uh, Kieran is still there today, so he can vouch for me. They needed a person with government experience in procurement, who could speak German, and having lived in Germany for 4 or 5 years, I could, still speak a bit, and had experience working in a kitchen.
Wow. I
So,
mean,
uh,
tick, tick,
yeah,
tick.
it was just like so. It was just amazing. I mean, it was the only job I could ever dreamed of. Certainly around the world, even never mind being in the middle of Dubai. But so fortunate, landed at the right time, and that job became available. I found myself in a seat, buying for 120 plus airlines, working in a team that had 11,000 plus personnel in the kitchen preparing
Jeez.
meals.
Jeez.
World's
Wow.
largest catering company,
Right.
airline catering company.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Goodness. But then I suppose,
Um,
as you say, this is to this point in your journey, this is definitely an all roads lead here. It's almost like you're the only person on the planet that could do this job right now. Thank you very much.
well, wow. Thank you, Phil. But yeah, I found myself sitting in Dubai in a new environment, new culture, new environment, but also surrounded by a great team of people who'd been in the region for many years. So my team was very diverse. I mean, we had people from the Philippines, from India, from Sri Lanka, Germany, the UK. So very diverse team, all focused on sourcing great food products from around the world. And so I went from very local to with the hotels to national with the prisons and then global with the airline. So
Mm.
whole different kettle of fish, so to speak, and a whole different challenge.
5-star hospitality means having the right people in the right place at the right time, and that's exactly where RotaCloud can help. RotaCloud is the online platform that makes planning rotas, recording attendance, and managing annual leave easy. Its simple, drag-and-drop interface lets you create and share rotas with your team in minutes, while our built-in budgeting tools mean you'll know exactly how much you're spending on staffing before sending the rota out. RotaCloud also makes life easier for your staff, allowing them to check their rotas, request time off, and pick up extra shifts, all through the RotaCloud mobile app. Start your 30-day free trial today by visiting rotacloud.com/Phil and find out how much easier managing your team can be.
Was it a daunting one? Like, because you're also here, you're not just looking at a job change, you're looking at a completely different location, a completely different, perhaps cultural viewpoint of work itself, and all of that. That's a lot to take in when you're making a transition like that.
Yes, it was. I think, personally, the transition was quite challenging because I thought I'd actually transition very easily because I left home when I was 19, worked and lived in different countries, and at a mature age, around 40, I think, I found myself in Dubai thinking this will be okay, but actually I found it very difficult at the beginning.
Really, right?
Um, I think because I guess we had a great life in the UK, and I really enjoyed my life in the UK, and I enjoyed my friends and family, around us. So it was, yeah, we were literally in the middle of a desert, almost quite practically as our family, and again we had to make new friends and make new networks, So that was quite challenging, but we got through it as a family, I guess. And my kids were so resilient; they were probably the best. They probably handled it all the best. So they gave me a lot of strength, to be fair, in that side of things. And then professionally, I was very lucky. I mean, the senior management there, and I hope Kieran Dowd won't mind me mentioning him. Again, great leader, but, very much of that ethos. Matt, you know what you need to do. I trust in how you're going to do it. You just get on and lead your team. And so he empowered me just to do it my way. And so then I leaned really heavily in on my team and said, guys, how are we going to do this? And how would you like to do this? And what would make things easier for you guys? And what could make us more successful? And so I was really very fortunate. Amazing team, very supportive, very engaging. And I guess all my experience from the Dorchester, from the Ministry of Justice and the House of Lords, and all came to the fore. I was able to put structure in place. I was able to give the team direction. And thankfully, it went extremely well. And I felt very fortunate every day, genuinely working with the airlines and working with a team of people that were just fantastic to be with.
Brilliant. Yeah. And how long were you in that role for?
We were there 4 years. So 2016 to 2020. And
what changed in 2020?
Well, 2020, yes. We had COVID.
We did have COVID. Everybody keeps talking about.
Yeah. No, that wasn't the main driver,
right,
to be honest, Phil. But as a family, I think we got to a point where we decided we'd come back to the UK. Our daughter was still living here in Manchester. And so in 2020, we came back to the UK and, again, missed the weather, missed our friends in Dubai. But nonetheless, we were back home. And I guess it was whilst I was back home, I started to reflect on some of the challenges I probably experienced working in the Middle East. And that was connecting food suppliers and buyers, I guess, across global markets. And that was something I took away from that experience and something I sort of focused on, I guess, in the quiet times.
Right. And so the idea is seeded at this point, but obviously there's a quite a big step to take from seed to something that actually you test and is out in the marketplace. So and this is something I'm always fascinated by when it comes to the transition from being kind of in that employee mindset into right now I'm going to be a founder, and what that takes, because I don't think it's something we talk about that much. In fact, I don't know, maybe it's the case that nobody wants to tell people exactly what it takes to become a founder, so that everybody can just stay employed for the rest of their life. But I don't know.
Oh, Phil, I didn't put this in my notes, but I guess when I worked in Dubai, I found that disconnect between suppliers and buyers, and I often struggled with it, because lots of missed opportunity. And when I was in the UK and I was reflecting on that and the thoughts of becoming a founder or setting up a business, it was always something I aspired to, but I wasn't quite sure when it would ever happen or if it would ever happen. And so I used to tell friends and family, I say, I'm waiting for the day I wake up and I just get that light bulb moment and I just take a leap of faith. And if truth be known, Phil, I never really believed it myself. Right. I just thought it's a plausible excuse not to do it yet, because I haven't had that moment yet, and so I used to convince myself that it would happen. And quite honestly, we were on holiday in August 2023, and I came across on LinkedIn an invite to a round table in Dublin, and it was set up by the Arab Irish Chamber of Commerce. And they were doing a round table to bridge the gap, which is again something I talk about, bridge the gap between Ireland and the Middle East in different sectors, including food and beverage. And I thought, wow, well, that's the problem I've been thinking of for the last 3 years and dreaming up strategies and, company names and all the good stuff. And I thought, I just turned to my wife and I said, I have to buy a ticket. I just have to go to this event. And I'm on holiday and I'm filling out this form and it's asking me lots of interesting questions, and I send it off. And they write back to me and they say, Matt, I'd love to have you here, but you didn't fill in your company name and what you actually do. I said, oh, sorry for that. I must have just missed that question. With the truth be known, I didn't have a company name. I didn't have didn't have any of that sort of thought through. So within about 24 hours, I sort of cobbled together everything I thought about for 2 years and rang up my best friend, Blair. And I said, Blair, I've got a few names for you here. No pressure, but I need you to give my company a new name. And I sandwiched Subu Connect in the middle of two names, and Subu was born overnight, and we were set up to bridge the gap between food suppliers and buyers
Oh
across
my
global
God.
food markets.
I love an origin story anyway, but that's almost like a man. Imagine you don't see that roundtable event, and you think, oh, I could probably add value to that, and then you don't fill out the paperwork, and you think, no, I'm not going to bother. It's for somebody else or whatever. Imagine then if we're even having this conversation, about Subu.
We wouldn't be sitting here, Phil, and we were introduced through a mutual friend as well, who again found out about Subu and my story, and I guess it's just created such an environment now for me that I'm so thankful and so fortunate to be part of. But yeah, that leap of faith and that opportunity to come across something quite by accident was quite pivotal, I guess.
Yeah, but you know what? The older I get, at the risk of sounding like somebody who's completely over the hill, the more I realize that actually being alive to opportunity is actually the most, it's a really wonderful trait to have. It doesn't matter if you don't feel ready for it, but just being alive to something that, this could be something. Let's use that inquisitive nature and go and see if it actually takes us anywhere. Here in your story, it played a part in maybe being that final piece of the jigsaw for you in terms of that confidence level of, I've got all this stuff going around in my head, I don't really know what to do with it yet. And then somebody just says something and you go, you're so alive to it that you go, God, yeah, that's the last piece of the jigsaw. It's almost vindication for everything that I've been talking about. And I just think it's, that's where the real win in all of this is just that aliveness to the fact that opportunity is around us the whole time, but you've got to be awake to it.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And I guess for me as well, Phil, when I reflect, it was, having that, I guess, that ability to take that leap. I mean, I could only have done that, with the backing of my wife, of course, and the support of my wife, both emotionally and financially.
Yeah.
Because it's literally a leap of faith where, you're in the unknown and you're on your own. And you're not getting paid either while you sort of figure it all out. So, yeah, no, it's a very fortunate position with lots of highs and lots of lows, and they tend to sort of smoothen out. But everything teaches you something new about yourself or about your product or about your company that, otherwise, unless you're in the deep end, swimming about there and trying to figure it all out, you'd never really experience in a regular job because you actually feel things a lot differently when you set out on your own because it almost comes alive and it's a being. And if that company has a fall, you actually physically feel the pain, or like you would a child or, a loved one, it's something you cherish and you nurture. And so, yeah, it can become quite all encompassing.
Yeah. No doubt. But here we are. So from that moment through to now, just to kind of take your story home for us, just in terms of what happened. You've kind of rushed into this company name, which works perfectly for what you're doing, as we've already established. But how did it progress out from there?
Yeah, no, it's great. So I feel that was in September 23. Handed in my notice the following week. 3 months notice period. So December 23, I guess, is when the journey really started. Took a year to develop my business plan. Sounds like a long time, and it is a long time. But, for a year, I was figuring out what we needed to do and how we were going to do it, meeting lots of buyers and talking about their challenges, meeting suppliers and sort of testing those pain points and understanding if a platform would even help, to generate new business for them. And then the crucial part, I guess, is funding the whole setup, and so learning about contracts and learning about how to fundraise and how to do all the legalities around that. So good year of sort of preparing the foundations, I guess, and getting more confidence in what I'm doing and becoming more confident in what we were doing. And so talking to people and challenging what we were setting about to do. And so, yeah, we got through that first year, and we bootstrapped it ourselves with an initial investment, and friends and family got on board. We have 7 investors in our company, and that enabled us to build our platform. So we work with an amazing company in Bulgaria, and they helped me design and develop our platform from 2024 through to 2025, September this year. And so on our second anniversary of incorporation, which was the 10th of September, we launched our platform. And so it's been a really epic sort of experience, and not least supported by great suppliers across Ireland and UK and further afield, who all have come on board as what I call early adopters or early believers, to support, because not everything's perfect. I have to admit, far from it. They talk about minimum viable products or MVPs, which is all technical jargon sort of stuff, but it's like building a car. Suddenly you sit in it and you go, why did the steering wheel go over there? It should have been here. Why do we have leather seats? There is no steering wheel, in fact. Why didn't we put a steering wheel? Or you've got leather seats when you realize nylon or something else would have done perfectly well. So yeah, it's been amazing in that regard. But we've got our early believers, we've got early adopters. They're on board supporting us now, and we've had some successes in the last 6 months. So, every project that we launch, we give it our fullest attention, and so far, it's working, and so far, suppliers are securing new deals with buyers in the market that they otherwise wouldn't work with potentially, and airline buyers and food service, in fact. Are identifying new and exciting suppliers to work with great products, great quality, and overall great value. So yeah, we've been very fortunate. So touch wood, 2026 will build on that even more so, and we can deliver more success.
Yeah, do you know what? There's so much to love in there, Matt. Notwithstanding, that whole message around somebody. We're talking about very different things, but we're talking about a very similar principle. Is that without that ethos of let's just get this launched with the right intention, and we'll worry about the detail as we go, as we learn in a live environment. This podcast wouldn't exist without that ethos, because I'm very much someone that can get in my own head about, but if we don't get that, we don't get that, we don't get that, then people are going to think this and this and this and this and this, and all of a sudden you just cripple yourself into not doing anything. And so that whole ethos, it sounds like it was very similar for you, is that, and I'm going to come back to something we spoke actually off microphone around, but was in your notes around the importance of connection, is that actually when you're in that proof finding phase of, do we have this minimal viable product? Do we have something that people are going to use? The importance of having people who trust you and what you stand for and what you set your values out to be and what you intend the values of the organization to be, et cetera, has extra weight in that period, I think, until you can demonstrate to them that this wonderful thing that we're in the process of trying to set up works in a way that works for everyone.
Exactly, Phil. Exactly. Actually, you've hit it. You've hit the nail on the head, really, insofar as, and I'm not always very good at recognizing this, but in the early days and still today, the investment that I've secured, or the suppliers who are trusting in us and the buyers, they're entrusting on me and my experience and what, our values that we share, which are 4 Ps, in fact, around the importance of people and how people are treated in the supply chains, and that, people get fair wage, for example. That's important to us.
Yeah.
The product itself, and how that product is cared for and how it's produced and developed. And of course, the people, that are involved in the process. And then we have planet. Again, in today's world, you can't ignore sustainability, and there's more and more importance focused around where food is produced and where it's coming from, whether that be air miles or otherwise, the carbon footprint. And then the controversial one, which I purposely put in there, was profit. Because if people don't make a profit, then they're not sustainable.
Yeah, and everything else falls down.
Yes,
without it.
So, yeah, indeed. And so I really focus quite heavily on that, because if our suppliers don't get paid a reasonable amount, then they're not going to be able to sustain that product quality or service. So again, I'm always careful to share that with our buyers, and I'm working with buyers who actually recognize that, and that's what makes my job that much easier, because it's all about the quality. So, and that stands up to scrutiny and speaks for itself.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's such a cyclical thing. Cyclical is the wrong word, but that's almost, when that works in a very coherent and good way, that's a closed loop system right there. I think they call it circular economy, right? Whereby basically one feeds the next, and it feeds the next, and it feeds the next, and you get round into this circle that is just self-perpetuating, and everything looks after the next phase in that cycle. And without that, that is the ultimate. That's sustainability right there, right? I mean, that's beyond planet sustainability. That is, if you've got an ecosystem like that, then you've got a really great chance of, building something really special.
Yeah, no, we're again. I tell my team, Subaru Connect is but a platform. We're the stage. The stars are the suppliers, and the audience is the buyer. In many ways, and our job is to present the best suppliers to the audience and have them pick who can work best for them. And so they're the stars, and we're just the people in the back, sort of orchestrating that.
Yeah, but connecting people to do good things together.
Indeed, yes. Every connection matters is our tagline, and the power of 3 words they talk about there. And so it was a little longer to begin with, but we landed on every connection matters. And I find, a bit like our conversations over the last year, Phil, no conversation's ever wasted, in the sense that we picked up a relationship in March, and we'd every intention of doing this. And we've had little conversations in between, and it's resulted in us being here. And I think that's fantastic, because that's how I tell my team, talking to our potential suppliers, is that we might not get the registration today, but in 6 months' time, when we have that second or third conversation, there might be an opportunity. They go, you know what, we're ready now. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's that relationship that you've built up not only gives you the credibility, but also gives you that impetus at that time to make that decision that's right.
Yeah.
And then take it forward. So, yeah, we really lean a lot into connection. And we invest a lot of time in building our relationships up with people, albeit we're a platform, a technology platform or as such, but it is all about the people. And in the food sector, it's all about people, and the producers and the farmers and the growers, and ultimately then our consumers, like you and I, who are in, consuming the food. So they're very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Superb. What a journey. It's one of those journeys whereby I listen to it, and there's so many things that I love about it. But I think the one thing that I will just come back to is it's a very human story, Matt. And I love how you kind of laid out this. I've not been perfect. Here's the stuff that went well. Here's some stuff that didn't go quite so well. Mayonnaise, obviously, that's a triggering point. But you know what? That's reflective of, I think, of if everybody's honest with themselves, everybody has this in their journey. But it's not about being perfect. It's about understanding what to do with the moments of imperfection, basically. And you've really put together for me a really fantastic kind of blueprint of how to go about life, really. And that sounds very grand and all of that, but I think at its heart is just this human nature, just trying to do the best that you can for yourself and those around you. And when you put that at your heart, really, really wonderful things can happen.
Yeah, no, thank you, Phil. Really, and I guess when I reflect on even just listening to what you said there, I guess in many ways the hospitality industry lends itself to those very points. We're in an industry where we're self-serving. We want to please the guest or please the client, and we tend to go over and above what's needed sometimes in order to excel at what we're doing, but also giving the guest the best experience, or that client the best feeling that they can have. And I think that's what makes the people in our industry, catering, hospitality, food service, so unique in many ways. Because you asked me earlier about moving from a kitchen into an office, office people tend to operate a little differently in some ways. 9 to 5. It finishes at 5. Whereas in hospitality, the days as long as you want to make it. And if a client's still sitting or a guest is still sitting in the restaurant, and you're due to knock off in 5 minutes, you're going to stay and make sure that guest gets the best service. And it's an industry that I think has taught me a lot about work ethic and about human interaction and people, because people really matter, and I've probably not always remember that, in my career, but certainly now as I sort of mature and, I was going to say grow up, but I guess we're constantly growing up and sort of learning.
Oh, no. Never.
Never.
No, I saw a sign once that said, don't grow up, it's a trap. Or something. It's I live by that to a certain extent. I mean, it's wisdom, isn't it? I think really is the
word.
The thing that you've learned that you didn't know before that now helps you achieve the thing that you want to achieve, and that's the difference. But I will always maintain that that fun needs to be at the heart of the vast majority of reasons why someone will do something. Is that you've got to have a bit of fun along the way.
100%, yeah. 100%. And I've noted down wisdom. That's exactly what it is, I think.
Yeah, good. I mean, I've come up with some stuff today. Jeez.
You have?
Monday morning, 3 coffees down. There we are. There's the sweet spot, Phil Street. No, look, wish you guys all the very best with 2026 and beyond. It sounds like you that time served in terms of setting foundation and intention is paying off for you, and you've got the foundation that you need to launch forward. So wishing 2026 an absolutely banger for you.
No, excellent. Thank you, Phil. And indeed, thank you for having me. This will certainly go a huge way for us and for me personally, if only to share the message more widely, but also to share it with you through this podcast. I think it bodes well, 2026, and I'm looking forward to the challenges and the opportunities that it may bring. But, being here has been a highlight for me for this year. So thank you once again for that.
Bless you. That's very, very kind. And well, have a fantastic Christmas and New Year, although when this goes out, that will have already passed. But wishing you all the very best with the next chapter, and we'll hopefully catch up for a proper coffee or / beer in the not too distant future.
That'd be lovely, Phil. Thank you.
Good man. Thanks, Matt. And there we have it. Matt reminding us that sometimes all it takes is a bit of courage, a lot of curiosity, and far too much mayonnaise. Some absolute pearls of wisdom in there from Matt. A massive thank you to him for giving up his time. We will, of course, be back next week with another awesome journey from hospitality, so have yourselves a cracking week, and I'll see you then.